Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Nightreign, and welcome to the Sovereign version of Darkdrift Night. And a lot of people were really worried about this one because it's one of the harder Night Lords in general, but with the right setup, it's not that bad. And this new version, though very fun, very visually enjoyable, and certainly has a few very dangerous things, he remains one of the most staggerable single enemies that you're going to face as a Night Lord. And so as a team, you can do a lot with that. And in single player, when he's got a lot less poise, this becomes absolutely busted. And you're probably already seeing some funny clips. We'll show one today. So what are all the new movesets? What are the weaknesses and important things to know? How can you best maximize the setup to destroy him? What are the new rewards? What do I think about them? We're talking about all of it. Let's begin with the centaur himself, Fulghor, and the new details. Here are some key weaknesses of Fulghor. Naturally, you know that he's weak to lightning. The lightning itself specifically procs when he begins to channel into his weapon and tries to slam it into the ground. If you hit him with any reasonable source of lightning damage in that moment, it interrupts him, causing a burst of lightning, damage, a debuff that makes him take more damage, represented by these lightning flares across his body. Lightning itself is still going to increase your damage compared to raw damage. Be aware that he is a mostly holy focused affinity monster, so holy he's actually quite resistant to. On that note, he has no resistance to magic or fire, so fire will work fine. But I want to highlight magic in specific. Most of the Night Lords, most bosses in Elden Ring in general, have some sort of base magic protection. But amazingly, both Adele and now Fulghor are the ones that actually don't have any. So it feels like magic's doing more damage to him in particular, and so it's going to be a great option for output. When it comes to statuses, he's actually even more vulnerable to it than Adele was. So a status focused build is going to be an incredible option as well. Stagger is absolutely busted against this centaur. So if you're able to power stance jumping attack as Wilder, obviously Raider, even when you're playing something like Executor or Guardian, this will work incredible. This is one of the most staggerable sovereign bosses we're going to face. And so, especially in solo, I really recommend the power stance spam for jump attacks. Here's this Reddit clip that was posted today talking about this, going to the point where he was able to completely ignore the second phase and prevent that transition. Let's discuss the fight and the key details to be aware of. Firstly, the fact that just like Adele, he begins in phase 2. So he's got that big poison arm immediately. It's not until about half health that he goes into a new second phase, we'll call it phase 3, right? Where he regrows an actual arm and goes back into that more holy focused gameplay. This is when you're going to see all the new moveset. So he begins to summon these holy sigils that he turns into like a holy bow. He'll use these to fire falling holy arrows, which will target multiple people at once and move slowly towards them. Ideally sprint or roll sideways to avoid those, but I want you to be aware that it's very dangerous if he does this when multiple melee are fighting up against the centaur at that moment. While he's casting it, he is still unexposed, but it's going to be ridiculous damage if you stand in it. So very much fair warning on that one. He will also use this new ranged bow effect for some quick shots, dealing nasty damage and probably knock you down from even long range. This is just a roll timing. As soon as he's about to fire, you just roll it. He'll use familiar attacks and combos that you've seen, but he'll begin to generate a new weapon, a holy twin blade, which he uses to spin and attack in different combos. There's two main ones you need to look out for. The safe one that's not too bad is basically one quick swing, a second quick swing, and then he leaps up into the air to slam down. Ideally, you roll into that so that you land on his landing location, which is a nice opportunity for you to get some punish in. The other combo of this holy twin blade though is much worse. It is a massive long chain swing combo, which is honestly hard to dodge and keep track of because he moves around a lot while he's doing it. To avoid this, if you're the target, you want to get behind him. So roll into him and behind him, and then as he kind of carries himself forward with momentum, you sprint away from him. This allows you to completely dodge and ignore that combo in its entirety. It's also a pretty free period of damage if you have ranged ability of any kind. The new super attack then is the big obvious one. He begins to bounce through the air like he's that magical deer boss or whatever. And at the end of it, he kind of prepares that bow for a massive nuke blast. He will target one player and apply a red mark while he's bouncing around. This lets you and the other two players know who the target is. The two players not with the red mark need to run away from the red mark player. So if you've got the red mark, stay away from your friends. This means it's easy to avoid if you're not the target by simply outranging it. The targeted player though will need to roll at the last moment of the explosion. There are two methods you could go. You could run further away from the centaur to mean more travel time, so more reaction time, or you could run right under him. This means as he fires it into the ground, you could be sprinting away already to actually outdistance it immediately. Josh was able to do this in one of our runs. Alternative to that, if you're playing Executor, you could go for the parry like I've gone for in the past, but at the same time, you can just block with any proper melee weapon. This will reduce the damage you take. In my experience, this has meant that I've lost half my health from this nuke, so if you're not confident for any reason, just try to block it. You might as well reduce the damage and not get knocked down. This covers a majority of the new movesets in that new phase. But familiar movesets are still there, right? You've got the triple shockwave combo, the leap slam. You've got the triple charge where he leaves that holy effect under him. I want you to be aware that for a surprising amount of attacks from this centaur, you can literally just jump over them. Many of those grey shockwaves can be jumped over, especially the circle AoE slam ones he does. This also works in his poison arm attack form. Many of his attacks will be wide sweeping arcs, right? But he always does these leap slams, and that is super easy to just jump over and get some free DPS on. The most important thing here though is obviously the interrupting him with lightning damage when he begins to channel that special attack where he stamps into the ground. So you definitely want lightning damage and you definitely want to interrupt him when he does that. Since lightning is one of his main weaknesses, it's a prime affinity source. On that note then, here's a big tip. When he gets to about half health, don't just hit him with any measly damage you can. You want to avoid that. You want to deal as much kind of combined timed burst when he's getting towards half health so that you can push him as far as possible into that final phase, but at as low as health as possible at the same time. When he begins to actually transition into that final phase, he kind of begins to hover in the ground and then lands in his new form. This is actually an amazing window of DPS, and so you can punish this animation and get a lot of extra damage out because there's not really any danger. So don't freak out too much when that happens. For strategy, I strongly recommend out of the 4 shifting earths, you go for Noclateo. The Shrouded City is a unique one because, unlike the other shifting earths, it kind of leaves you with the most jails possible, between that 6 and 7 mark of a normal run. The downside of this shifting earth is that yes, you're going to lose the castle, but in exchange, you're going to get a guaranteed legendary weapon. You're going to have access to the guaranteed duping of an item, which means if you have an incredible passive, you can have a second one. Or if you get an incredible drop, such as a lightning weapon of some kind like I have here with a legendary, you can have a second one. And suddenly, you're not using just one good weapon, but you got the power stance, and just like I said, you're able to do the jump power stance attacks for insane stagger buildup while benefiting from the main weakness of the monster. So it's absolutely busted. I would strongly recommend if you're going to do the Shrouded City that you go on the left side or the sewer side, because as you run through that route towards the main area where you're going to face the final boss, you will run past 2 bosses, the Headless Troll and also the Black Knife Assassin, who are incredibly easy to kill, worth a lot of runes, and obviously give you dormant powers. Also, there's the little soldiers that wait outside and even inside after you defeat the boss, which can be killed for even more dormant power drops really quickly. Finally, when you do the Shrouded City shifting earth, you get that guaranteed power, which is essentially one Wending Grace. You and the whole team get to die once and come back, which is an unbelievably helpful thing when you're learning a new challenging fight like this. So we think it's the best option, especially when you consider the most meta relic that everyone's using right now, this Luminous Scene, giving you that attack power permanent increase for each jail that you defeat. You get the treasure marked on the map, and you all start with 1 key. If you and your 2 teammates all have this, then you all want to do all of the jails you can. With that shifting earth in mind, you still have the 6 or 7 you can do. You'll guaranteed start with 3 keys, and on the way, you might buy a key from a merchant or open any of the larger chests in, say, the Fort High up top, or in a Grand Cathedral on the ground floor, or up top, there's another chest up there. These all have that chance of extra stone sword keys, so you have enough for all the jails. Our priority with these runs then is stacking this up as much as possible because it's the single most impactful attack power increase that you can get on any one relic, and having a guaranteed one for 3 sovereign sigils is obviously busted. This isn't exactly a build video, but in many cases you can run 3 yellow or different setups with a yellow. So my Executor setup here has that Luminous Scene, and then lots of status potential since, you know, Fulghor's weak to it. Another example could be this with Wilder, with the Wilder Earring, there's the Luminous Scene, and then just another slot. Another example with Guardian, like this. Another example with Raider with the power stance setup. 2 red, and then the anything with that Luminous Scene on the any spot. But I think you get the idea. In terms of the best setup or choices for Nightfarer, here is what I think you should consider. The number 1 pick, in my opinion, is going to be Raider because he has a huge health pool, stamina pool, and is going to be the best stagger break potential in the game. Since Fulghor is so vulnerable to that, ridiculously so, I think it's going to be the most common pick, and also at the same time, the easiest and most forgiving one. With that concept in mind, you could do the same power stance idea with, say, Wilder in the exact same way, but more of an Ash of War focus. If it's got stagger break potential, that will work great. You could also power stance something like 2 halberds and just do less damage but still do well with something like Guardian. Bear in mind that since he has absolutely no protection against status, any status focused setup for, say, Executor or Duchess is going to be unbelievable. And with the complete lack of magic resistance, Recluse is going to be a top tier choice, and what's great about that is the range DPS. On that note, I has the same benefits, applying the mark, causing that stagger and interruption, dealing great DPS over a long period, and if you give yourself a guaranteed lightning setup on your bow, the potential is indeed very high. Finally, let's talk about the new rewards. You have, surprisingly, the whole same thing. So of course you're going to be able to buy all of the skins with the Sovereign Sigils, the different color organization of the urns. We have the same main ridiculous relics that you can buy. The only real change here is, of course, the new relic. To my surprise then, you might be happy to know that the Dark Knight of the Baron, Adele's special Sovereign relic, I thought this wouldn't be available anymore. Turns out it is. So you're not on a time limit, it would sim. So when we get the 3rd one next week, you should still be able to buy either of these without basically losing them, which is very forgiving of them. The new relic then is the Dark Knight of the Champion. To my surprise, it doesn't lean into a counter playstyle like I thought it would. It's now a yellow relic with increased maximum stamina. This essentially means about +5 endurance, so absolutely insane for high stamina users such as Guardian, Raider, but beneficial to basically everyone. The special bonus here is boost attack power of added affinity attacks. So affinity versus status, we believe this just means, you know, your element stuff, holy, lightning, whatever. So if you're leaning into that compared to status, then it's going to be very good. And we have some builds in mind that we're going to talk about soon on the channel. The last line is just general killing enemies gives you arc gauge. Going to be great for the rest of the run, but obviously not amazing during the main boss fight itself when it's just you versus one enemy. But still, overall, very interesting relic and one we're definitely going to play around with. But yeah, that's my overview of Sovereign Centaur Fulghor. I hope this covers absolutely everything you feel you need to know. If you guys have any extra information or tips to help with the fight, then let us know in the comments down below. Until next time, I've been Hollow, you've been you, and thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.